Kevin here, Fight Designer LLC, with another PewTube. Normally this channel is specifically about theatrical and film firearms. I've occasionally had some content geared more towards real firearms as well, just mostly with the angle of how can real firearms training help an actor learn to portray a character better. So we've broken 1,000 subscribers on the PewTube channel, which is great. Thank you very much. I've never really monetized it. I've never had any sponsorship. I've never had any Patreon tips coming in, anything like that. But I guess we're now big enough, me in my garage, that we're now getting the attention of some manufacturers. So I got my first, hey, free sample if you do a video review of it. I am not above bribery. Now, that said, I still want to be honest about it, and there was no obligation that I had to actually say it was great. They wanted me specifically to compare to other kinds, so that's what I'm going to do. So what we have here is hearing protection. If you're going to be doing anything with live firearms training, practical firearms, or just blanks, when we're testing out blank guns, things like that, that can be really loud. And so it's important to have hearing protection as an option for anybody who is training with real firearms, but also for any, obviously if you got your actors on camera, you don't always have the option of having visible hearing protection. So sometimes then it's just a matter of getting some of the foamies and trimming them down. I don't have any of the flesh-colored ones on me right now. I've got pictures of some in the Theatrical Firearms Handbook that are the clear ones, but even just these cheap foamies, you can get them in skin tones instead of gray or purple. And if you cut them in half, you can usually get away with hiding that, especially with a little bit of makeup on it. And in anything but the closest shot, you can probably hide that. Less people are using blanks for film now anyway. But if you are, especially on live theater or anything where you've got crew members nearby, the crew needs hearing protection as well. And they don't have to hide it, so there's no reason that they can't use something. And these are actually nice. The ones I want to look at today, it's electronic hearing protection that also has microphones built in. And that's great on a film set, or if you're trying to do any kind of social shooting or IDPA or something like that, where you need to hear the range officer, or just want to be able to talk to your friends while you're shooting. What these do is they have microphones built in that will carry through the sound up to a certain level. And when the sound goes over that many decibels, it cuts out. So it'll protect your hearing from the gunshot, but it won't clip out any kind of ambient noise while you're walking around, a conversation with your friends, the sound of a car pulling up behind you, or a deer that's, going through the underbrush. Even when you're hunting, these things can be used, was the idea. Not to mention tactical usages as well. And you see these all the time attached to the fast helmets or things like that, where you've got directional microphones. And these have been out for a while, but this is a brand new one. I'm going to do an unboxing here and talk about some of the differences between this and some of the other ones that I've got, and the pluses and minuses. And then tomorrow, just so it happens, a group that I'm associated with was like, let's do a shotgun and rifle day. Perfect chance to test these, because shotguns are loud. And if this can handle 12-gauge shotgun in a social setting and allow me to converse with people as well as not hurt my ears with a 12-gauge, awesome. So let's start by just unboxing this, seeing what they sent me, and then I'll compare to some of the ones that I've got in terms of how it feels and what the functions are. And then tomorrow, we'll break out the guns and see how it actually does at covering the sound. All right, so nice, decent box. It is ProCase Ear Defenders, EM9011C hearing protection. Just dropped a couple of cables. What do we got in the box? We got instructions and a little bag. Sure, that's nice. And a couple of cables. What do we got? One USB-C and one 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch. So I'm already assuming that these have an internal battery and that they can work with something like a microphone setup or a phone. But we shall see. So first impressions, not bad. There's a sort of a cloth finish here that it's at least slick enough that it does come like a car seat. Like, it's probably cleanable. One of the things when I'm looking at headphones, this is different from like wireless headphones that I'm going to listen to on a plane or something. These are meant to be out when I'm getting dirty, as far as I'm concerned. So I need to make sure that it's something that can hold up, and that I can clean off as needed. So they've got some rubber covers over places where those cords would plug in. So at least that implies some water resistance. Looks like volume thing on one side. We've got the microphones on either side, just straight out the end. Is it marked right and left? Here we go. Oh, it's marked there. Duh. All right. And this probably needs to charge. Let's see if it has any charge. Oh, yep. Already muffling sound pretty well. Let's see. Ooh, it says power on. So I guess it has some charge. All right. So I can hear reasonably well. I still get, like, I sound weird. I always do. Bone conductance always makes your voice sound weird. But let's see how something else sounds. Alexa, play Sounds of the City.
Sounds of the City and similar songs on Amazon Music.
Sorry, I just wanted something that wasn't copyright protected. So I can hear it. And at least to some degree directionally. I've got a little speaker thing up there, so it is at least somewhat directional, which is nice. It's a little muffled, but not bad. Can kind of hear my chest freezer humming a little bit. Now, the nice thing, what I don't hear is any electrical interference. You turn that off. That's pretty simple. Now, to be fair, these are brand new. I don't think I have a headphone jack on, 1/8" jack on most of my devices, so I don't know if I can test that function out. But they're fairly comfortable. You know, a little padding in here. Adjustable. Okay, yes, we've got some length adjustment here that also helps them clap down nicely. This is nice. Because another thing is, can I throw it in a range bag? This gets down pretty nice and tight. And has its own bag to keep them reasonably clean. Cool. So it's been interesting to me to see how these have kind of evolved over the years. When I first got a pair of electronic hearing protection, I want to say like decades ago, Radians was one of the first companies that I saw doing that, and I thought these were the coolest thing. And so these are decades old now, and you know, starting to come apart in some ways. But Radians is a pretty good company, and they still work. Now, this is again not their latest model. This is decades old. These were a little bit tight, like they fit fine now. But I have noticed if I wear these for long periods of time, sometimes I get a little bit of a sore headache. They're nice and low profile, which I appreciate. That was also relatively new when I was used to like the big old earmuffs. And they do have, there we go. Ooh, yeah. And these can actually go really loud. So now my voice actually sounds like I'm, you know, standing in front of the monitor amp. I can turn this down a bit. So these actually amplify things a lot. I think the intent with these in part was that you'd be able to hear things that you wouldn't normally be able to hear. So, you know, a twig snapping a ways away, but it still cuts off after a while. So these work, you know, and they're decades old and they still work. Now there's some design things that I don't like about them. Let me turn these off again. Been a while since I wore these. I don't remember where the thing is. There it is. So these have knobs, separate knobs for each thing. Now, what I don't like about these, I already mentioned a bit about the fit. The separate knobs for each ear is kind of annoying. Like, I don't ever think I'd want one ear louder than the other. Also, 3 AAA batteries per ear thing. That's kind of a pain in the butt. And these battery covers, like it's because of the angle, you can't even really get at the knurled knob that's there to be able to undo them well. So it's a bit of a pain to change the batteries. And you have to change them fairly often. I don't go shooting super often. So chances are good if I pull these out of my bag, they need new batteries. And at 3 AAAs per ear, I might need to hit the store and get more batteries too, which is kind of annoying. But very similar size, similar function, good quality. But these were like $65. Whereas I think these ProCase ones are like $25 on Amazon. So it has gotten cheaper, and or ProCase is just a cheaper brand than Radians. Now, I do have some that are maybe a fair comparison in terms of the same price point that I picked up or been given over the years. And they each have different features, which I appreciate in different ways. So this set, this is a style that you see fairly commonly now with the sort of slanted one battery thing. I appreciate this. This is super easy to open, and it's just 1 AAA per ear. So that's nice and easy to replace. And also makes you more likely to take them out when you're storing them for long periods of time, which is probably smart. It also has the 1/8 inch jack. And it only has one volume set per ear, meaning they're connected. You've got this wire over the top, so it's less time spent fiddling with it, which is nice. Also a decent fit, and also nice low profile. But the thing about these, when I turn these on, and it just beeps. So it beeps every time you actually like successfully input a button, which is honestly kind of annoying. I don't want to beep right in my ear when I'm trying to focus on something else. The other thing about these, yeah, it beeps each time you turn it up or turn it down. And this can amplify a fair amount. They get pretty decent sound. But the thing about the microphones in these, and this set's probably about 10 years old at least, but it sounds a little like when you're holding a shell up to your ear in the ocean. You get a bit of that kind of background noise that it's not from the physical cupping of my ear, but it is from the microphone. It's an artifact of just interference in the wires or something. So maybe it's meditative. I don't know. Maybe that helps drown out some of the other sound, that kind of gentle of the microphone. But, you know, to me, that's just not great. It's just stuff I'm not wanting to hear. But I can hear really well with them. They work. But I don't like the beep, beep, beep. Turn it off. And they're not as good quality microphone. So that's the downside of those. They're a little bigger as well. They don't go quite as small as the Radians or the ProCase. This set was given to me, I think, by my dad. What I like about these, they do also have the 1/8 inch jack, easy controls, and I love that you can just slide this off to get at the battery. You don't need any special tools. For me, that's fine, but I left some batteries in these, and they got some of that corrosion in there. I don't know if that's why or something else, but when I tried putting batteries in them just now, one of them sort of worked, the other didn't work at all. So these are now no longer electronic earmuffs as far as I'm concerned. These are just basic loaner earmuffs. They're also not as low profile, not as compact, more plastic parts, less metal. So just generally not as high quality. Yeah, they don't pop in the same way. They just don't get as compact. So these are cheap loaners now as far as I'm concerned. So what I'm seeing with these new ones already, without having tried them with shooting, and I understand if you're skipping ahead because I'm packing a lot. I like the internal battery. You know, again, as somebody who doesn't use these things super often, I would rather just charge them up the night before I go shooting. We'll see how long they hold a charge. So for just kind of the hobbyist use, to me, an internal battery makes more sense. I don't have to worry about the AAAs or AA's leaking battery acid inside them and ruining them and them stopping working because of that. So many devices have these at this point. Yes, potentially in a shit hits the fan situation, you might be better off with batteries that can be replaced, or if you're out in the field for a long time, but you know, I'm not some kind of SEAL team operator, and the zombies haven't invaded, so I think chances are good. If I'm going to go shooting, I'm going to know ahead of time, especially if I'm going to have hearing protection on. That's because I know ahead of time, and I've had a chance to pack and prep, and I can charge these, and that's fine. So there's a little red light there, so I can tell that it's charging and not fully charged yet. But the light turns off when I unplug them, and it briefly turns green when I turn them on. I appreciate that this, you know, the small part of me that's like, oh, gun gear should be tactical, appreciates that there's not something lighting up on the side of them every time you use them. Oh, slight green pulse. Is it going to do that again? Let's see. Leaving them on. Yeah, okay, so it occasionally pulses green. Not too obnoxious. But I guess that lets you know if you accidentally left them in your bag with them turned on. It'll give you a bit of a heads up. And the fact that it's red when it's charging, I assume it turns green when it's done charging. We'll find out tomorrow. Means that I can top them off and make sure they're good to go. So, yeah, 4 different sets of electronic hearing protection. I'm going out with a group that some of them are relatively new shooters, so it's good to have loaners anyway. And so I'll bring all of these and we'll try some out. We'll see how it goes. All right, now they're fully charged. Turning them all the way off, all the way on, power on, all the way on. So these don't get as loud as some of the others. The amplification is not as strong, which is part of why I'm still hearing my own voice sounding a little more funny, is because I'm getting more through the bone conductance than I am from the outside. I can still hear outside noise, but it's not as amplified as it is through the Radians or some of the others. All right, so let's see if the little talking head thing works. That was a great day at the range. That was great. Location's gorgeous out here in Oregon. Mist in the morning, kept it cool. Very tough by midday, but good people, good space, getting those toys. So let's talk about those muffs. They did not use power all day. I could have left them on. I guess we can see how long they last. But I was there for 4 hours of shooting, something like that, 3 or 4 hours, and they were fine. They do not really amplify. So when you turn on the electronic part, it's still kind of the same as if you just didn't have your muffs on, or maybe even like just really crappy hearing protection. Like it's not at all louder or clearer than you would be without them. Whereas some of the others, like the Radians and whatnot, it is actually amplified. You get it much louder if you need that. So some of it is just, what do you need? Do you have hearing issues to begin with or not? The only other complaint I have, and that wasn't really a complaint, but I did get a little bit of wind noise. So sometimes when wind comes across those microphone screens on the side, I'd get a little bit of that, like when the microphone kind of pushing. But otherwise, they did the job fine. There were folks all around me and myself sometimes firing 12 gauge, 9mm, 40, 45, 5.56 or 223. Got pretty loud, but never uncomfortably so. A couple times when I was on a line and someone was just not too far away, and I could feel a little bit of the force of that. I wouldn't want to hang out there too long with those, but I don't want to hang out too long in that space anyway. So as long as you got at least some distance, if I were in an indoor range, it'd probably be louder. You can also always do things like double phones inside. Worry about that. But really take care of your hearing. But they were fine. Never got too uncomfortable. Didn't have a whole ton of issues with glasses. Sometimes you get those earmuffs and like your glasses or your eye protection, and it like digs it inside of your head. I didn't have any issues with that. That's the job. Cheap, not fat, can't complain. And great day shooting. It's a lot of fun. It's good to remind yourself sometimes, even if your primary thing is theater and film, like for myself, it's good to remind yourself, like, oh yeah, we are actually ostensibly trying to hit targets and think about cover and movement and all this other stuff that we don't have to worry about when we're just playing make-believe. But this is what we're trying to portray. This is as close as I'm going to come to it. I have no interest in being in real combat, like nothing. It's good to get your dip your toe in the water sometimes and try some real firearms training, get a sense of how that works. So there you go. ProCase hearing protection. If you're interested, there's now a discount code that they also gave me to distribute with this. That's going to be in the description. So if you want to click down there, you'll get a discount on these if you want to pick up a pair for yourself. As always, feel free to like, subscribe, whatever. Maybe it'll do me some good sometime down the road. Maybe somebody will send me more free stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I'm always happy to give things a try if there's something you want to hear about or something you want to send me to review. All sorts of projects going on, some of them in the PewTube domain. I've been doing more 3D printing. I've got some fun models, just doing like doubles of things that I've got. Here's a 3D printed AAPL1 to match up my airsoft gas blowback that I've been playing with. There's always more 3D printing designs that I'm playing around with when I have time. I like this one. It just uses rubber bands and actually no glue, which is kind of nice too. But it gives you a nice trainer. Just a friction fit on the magazine, which isn't quite as nice, but a little bit of a just 3D printed spring action on the trigger, and lets you kind of practice with the slide. So if what you want to do is just teach handgun basics or give an actor something to mess with while you're in a workshop, or just want a double to train with, it's kind of similar to some of the PSA Dagger compact versions you might have, or the 3D printed Glock ripoffs, right? But that's kind of a fun model. So I went ahead and did a couple of these. But, there's always more projects going on. Not everything is guns also. I've got a sort of Scottish-inspired dirk I've been making. I've got all these half-finished projects in my garage, and I'm trying to finish some of these off. And yeah, have less junk kicking around. So some of that stuff will be on the Fight Designer channel. Some of it will be on future YouTube videos. And you know, till you come back, and until I got more to share, stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.